Okay, so what we have here is the operations of functions quiz review. And we've been working since last Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, on all the operations of functions. We've done adding, subtracting, multiplying, and as of the last 2 days, we've been working on our compositions of functions. So this right here, this quiz review, is just practice of all of that combined. And I have three different equations. I have my f of x equation, which is 5x plus 2. I have my g of x equation, which is 3x minus 7. And I have my h of x equation, which is x squared minus 4. And the reason I did three different equations is because I wanted to make sure that you guys were paying attention to the lettering. So we had talked about the lettering here, looking to see what the F was, looking to see what the G was, and looking to see what the H was before we went and did our problem. That is pretty dark pink, so I'll use blue. Okay. Okay, so the first equation has us doing f of x, yellow, f of x plus, please note that plus there, h of x. So we have to write our f of x equation first. What's my f of x equation? 5x plus 2. Then we write a plus sign because that's what's between them. And then I'm going to write my h of x equation, which is x squared minus 4. And I'm going to pause here a minute. I'm going to see if you guys can collect like terms and put it in order from the highest term to the lowest term. Okay, so what did we get? What's the highest one here? X squared, perfect. So I'm going to write my x squared here because there's no other x squareds. And now we're done with that x squared. What's the next one? We have a 5x, beautiful. So I'm going to say plus 5x. And now that x is gone. There was no other x's, right? And then we have a 2 and a minus 4. And together they create minus 2. And that's your answer to problem number 1. What are your questions? Okay, for problem number 2, then we have our g of x equation. Then there is a minus sign. And then we have our f of x equation. So paying attention to what we write. Now, what is the one thing we need to remember when it comes to the minus sign? Does anyone remember? So when there is a minus sign, the second equation has to become their opposite sign. So let's write our first equation. The first equation is g of x, which is 3x minus 7. Then we write our second equation, and the negative means the second equation becomes their opposites. So my f of x is positive 5x. So we're going to write minus 5x. And it's a positive 2. So we're going to write minus 2. Don't forget that each of the signs change in the second equation. So now take a minute, go ahead and take a minute and combine your like terms. So we have our like terms of 3x and negative 5x. Together they create negative 2x. Because 3 plus negative 5 is negative 2. And then we have negative 7 and negative 2. Negative 7 plus negative 2 is negative 9. Perfect. Go ahead and make sure you get that down. So the next one says h of x. So I'm going to use my highlighter here to help. H of x minus g of x. G of x is my green, right? So blue minus green. So this x squared minus 4. So I'm going to write that down. X squared. There's the pen, there it is. X squared minus 4 minus my g of x. So it becomes the opposite. So the positive 3x becomes negative 3x. And the minus 7, the negative here, becomes a plus 7. Now you can take a minute and collect those like terms. So we have x squared. Our first one. There's no other x squareds. We have minus 3x, no other, just plain old x's. So that's our second one. We've used both of those. We see these are both just plain numbers. So they're like terms. Negative 4 plus 7 is positive 3. So that's our answer to number 3. All right, number 4, we're going to add these two together. So I'm looking here. I have a g of x. That's the green one. And I have my f of x. That's my yellow one. So you write your g of x equation. If it'll let me, my g of x equation is 3x minus 7. Then I'm going to do my plus sign here. And my f of x equation is 5x plus 2. So those are my two equations with a plus sign between them. And the addition is really easy because then at that point, all you have to do is collect your like terms. So we've got 3x and we've got 5x. They both have x's, so they're like terms. 3 plus 5 is 8, so 8x. And we have minus 7 and plus 2. So negative 7 plus 2 is minus 5. So that's your answer when you combine those like terms. Okay, so we've scrolled down. We're looking at problems 5 and 6, and both of these are multiplication problems. We're just practicing our multiplication here. So my h of x, which was blue, here we go, is the first one, and my g of x, which was green, was my second one. How many terms, I'm just going to scroll up here. How many terms are there in h of x? 2. How many terms are there in g of x? 2. So we are going to draw, to the best of our ability here, a 2 by 2 box, because that's going to help us multiply these two pieces together. And my h of x was x squared minus 4, and that goes along the top. And my g of x was 3x minus 7, and that goes along the left-hand side. So now we're going to multiply these. So I have 3x and x squared is 3x cubed, because we have 3 and there's nothing multiplied, so that 3 stays put. And x times x squared is x cubed. Now we do 3x times minus 4, which is negative 12x, because these numbers, the 3 and the minus 4, multiply because they're the big numbers out in front of x's. Only the negative 4 doesn't have an x, so we have an x here, but not here, so that x just kind of gets tagged on next to the number. We have negative 7 times x squared. That just becomes negative 7x squared. There's nothing that we can combine in that manner. And negative 7 times negative 4 is positive 28. I'm going to give you guys a minute to write that down and then go ahead and collect your like terms. All right, so collecting my like terms, I see that I have a 3x cubed. Any other x cubes here? Nobody, nope. So I've got 3x cubed. I've got a negative 7x squared. Any other x squareds? Nobody, nope again. Minus 7x squared. We've got a negative 12x, no other, just x's, so it's negative 12x. And then finally, just the plain old number 28. And I'm just going to leave my answer down here because it was nice and long. But I'm going to box it so that we know that's the answer. And I'm going to go right to the next one. My f of x times my g of x. So I'm going to scroll on up. My f of x was yellow and has two terms. My g of x was the green with two terms. So 2 and 2 terms means I have to do the box method again. My f of x was 5x plus 2, so that 5x and 2 go along the first column. And my g of x was 3x minus 7, so that's going to go along the side. So here we go, we're going to multiply to get what's on the inside. So 3x times 5x. Well, 3 times 5 is 15. And x times x is x squared. So that's our first box being filled in. Second box being filled in, we've got 3x times 2. 3x times 2, that's going to give us 6, because 3 times 2 is 6. And x times no x at all just means the x just gets tagged onto that 6 there. For this box, lower left-hand box, we say 5x times negative 7. Well, 5 times negative 7, they're the numbers. So we're going to multiply them, gives us 35. So I'm squishing them in there. 35. And then this has an x, but this one doesn't. So it's 35x. Please be careful with that. When we were practicing this in class, people were leaving off these x's. They were just multiplying the numbers and forgetting the x's. So make sure that you're going back and checking. Oh, this one has an x, this doesn't. So I need to make sure that I write this x in here. All right, lastly, we have 2 times negative 7, which is negative 14. This does not have an x. This does not have an x. So there is no x here. So let's collect those like terms. I have a 15x squared. I'm going to write that down. 15x squared, because there's no other x squareds. I have a negative 35x. That's pretty ugly, but that's what it is. Negative 35x plus 6x. So negative 35 plus 6. And because one is negative and one is positive, what's actually happening here is subtraction. And we get negative 29. So we have negative 29x. They both had x's, so we leave that x there. And lastly, the minus 14. And again, I'm just going to box this answer instead of put it up on the line there, just because it's already big and in its place. Okay, so for this next one, we have g of f of x. So what's the outer letter here? What's the outer letter here? The outer letter here is the g. Yes, the g right here. So we're looking at the g, and we're going to write our g equation down, which is 3x plus 7. Then I'm going to erase the x, and I'm going to put a parentheses where that x was. Inside the parentheses, I'm going to write my f of x equation. And my f of x equation was 5x plus 2. And now we simplify. So we say 3 times 5x is 15x. Bless you. 3 times 2 is 6. Then I bring down this plus sign, and I bring down the 7, and I collect like terms. So 15x is the only x, so I'm going to write 15x. And then 6 plus 7 is 13. So my final answer here is 15x plus 13. All right, so we had sorry, there was a typo on my end. This was a minus 7. Whew, Mrs. Eaton, goodness me. This is why we always go back and check our work. All right, so there we go. With that minus in, it changes this last number here. So 6 minus 7 is minus 1. Thank you for catching that. I appreciate that. Okay, so the next problem, what is my outer letter here? F. So we're gonna write my F equation, which is 5x plus 2. And I'm checking now, like I'm extra checking. That's a plus 2. So we have 5x plus 2. So I'm gonna snag my eraser. I'm gonna erase that x. I'm gonna put a parentheses in its place. Inside the parentheses goes the g of x, and the g of x equation is 3x minus 7. So we distribute the 5. 5 times 3 is 15x, and 5 times minus 7 is negative 35. And then I bring down that plus 2 that's hanging out on the outside of the parentheses. We collect our like terms. So I have a 15x. There's no other x's, so I'm going to write down 15x. I have negative 35 plus 2. Negative 35 plus 2 is negative 33. And then all my like terms are collected. So that's my final answer, 15x minus 33. Okay, so for this next one, remember when there's a number inside, so for 9 and 10, we have numbers on the inside. We have to solve the inside number first. So I'm looking at this inside number, the inside piece, and it's g of 1. So first we have to solve our g of 1. So that means I'm going to take my g equation, which is 3x plus 7, and I put 1 in for the x. So 3 times 1, I said plus 7 again, didn't I? Minus 7. 3 times 1 minus 7. So 3 times 1 is 3. Minus 7 is negative 4. We're not done. That's our g equation. Now we have to plug it in for the h equation. Now we have to plug it in for the h equation. So we say h of, we take this number that we just found. It's like a step-by-step. You need to have the first answer to get to the second. So h of negative 4. So the h equation is x squared minus 4. So I'm going to say negative 4 squared minus 4. Now, just real quick here, if I have negative 4 squared, what is that? 16. Positive or negative? Positive 16. Very good. Because a negative times a negative is a positive. So we have positive 16. I can't get this to scroll down any further. Oh, there. Oh, there we go. Ooh. There we go. All right. So going underneath here. So I've got 16 minus 4. And then 16 minus 4 is 12. And that's our final answer. We have one more problem left to do. Ooh, there we go. Again, it's with the numbers. So we've got to solve this first. So we've got g of 8. So we're going to solve our g of 8. So we plug 8 into our g equation. The g equation is 3x minus 7. So I'm going to say 8 minus 7. What's 3 times 8? 24 minus 7. What's 24 minus 7? 17. Very good. We're not done. That 17 is what goes into the F equation. So the F equation is 5x plus 2. So 517 plus 2. So if you need to grab a calculator. All right, so we've got 5 times 17. Did anybody get it? What's 5 times 17? Let's go to 85, good. And then 85 plus 2 is 87. And so that, ladies and gents, is our review. Make sure you study.